Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The mirror had become Amira's worst enemy. At 8 months pregnant, her swollen feet throbbed after another restless night. Her once slim face now carried gentle puffiness. Her belly, enormous and round, shifted as her baby kicked from inside. She exhaled slowly, adjusting the oversized robe around her body. Still she smiled. "Almost there, baby girl," she whispered, rubbing her bump lovingly. "Just a few more weeks." From behind, she heard footsteps and turned, hopeful. Derek stepped into the bedroom, adjusting his gold watch. "Hey," she said softly. "Do you like the baby bag I picked out yesterday? It has little sunflowers." "You've let yourself go, Amira?" Her words froze mid-sentence. "What?" Derek didn't look at her. His eyes were on his phone as he grabbed a blazer from the chair. "I mean, seriously. You used to care how you looked. Now you walk around like someone's grandma." "I'm 8 months pregnant," she replied, trying to laugh it off. "You think this belly is optional?" He chuckled dryly, almost mockingly. "Still, other pregnant women make an effort." Amira turned back to the mirror, blinking back tears. Her chest rose and fell as she bit the inside of her cheek. "I'm doing my best, Derek." "No, you're not," he said, slipping on his shoes. "You're just existing." She stared at his reflection. "Is this really how you feel?" Derek didn't answer. He walked out of the bedroom, grabbing his keys. "I'll be home late," he said over his shoulder. "Don't wait up." The door shut behind him. Amira stood frozen, the room suddenly too quiet. Her hands trembled as she reached again for the mirror's edge, steadying herself. That night he didn't come home. She called once. No answer. Texted. No reply. She lay in bed alone, belly heavy, heart heavier. She remembered their wedding vows. In sickness and in health. In joy and sorrow. Sorrow had arrived. And Derek was nowhere to be found. The next morning she made breakfast, just like always. Pancakes. Eggs. She even put on a little lip gloss and changed into a floral dress that used to make him smile. He walked in around 9 a.m. She could smell perfume that wasn't hers. "You're just getting home?" she asked gently. He nodded like it was normal. Sat down and grabbed a pancake. "I need to talk to you." Her hands, which were pouring tea, stilled. "Okay. I can't do this anymore." The words didn't register at first. "What do you mean?" Derek sighed like she was the one being difficult. "I don't love you, Amira. This baby, this life, this isn't what I signed up for. You've changed." "Of course I've changed," she whispered, trembling. "I'm carrying your child. I'm exhausted. But I still love you." He stood up, grabbing his car keys. "That's not enough." Amira rushed to him, grabbing his arm. "Derek, please. Don't do this. Don't leave us." "I already have," he snapped, jerking away from her. "You just didn't notice." And with that he walked out again, this time not even pretending to care. That afternoon, Amira felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. It wasn't like the usual kicks or cramps. It was deeper, sharper, unrelenting. She clutched her belly, gasping for air as she sank to the floor. Her phone was across the room, but she crawled for it, dialing with shaking fingers. The last person she expected to call, Mama Ruth. At the hospital, her mother held her hand tightly. Amira sobbed between contractions, her heart broken and her body screaming. "Breathe, baby," Mama Ruth whispered. "He's not worth dying over. Just focus on you and your child." "I don't want her to come into this world alone," Amira sobbed. "I don't want to do this without him." "You're not alone," Mama Ruth said fiercely. "You have me. And soon you'll have her. You're stronger than you think." 12 hours later, Amira James gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. No father in sight. No flowers. No messages. Just the quiet hum of machines, her mother's soft humming, and the first cry of her daughter, Talia. As she held Talia to her chest, tears rolled down Amira's cheeks. But they weren't just tears of pain. They were tears of release, of resolve. In that moment, she looked at her daughter and whispered, "I will never let anyone make you feel unloved. And I'll never beg anyone to stay." Derek never showed up. He didn't call. He didn't ask. And something in Amira, something quiet, soft, and deeply buried, began to shift. She would cry, yes. She would ache. But she would not break. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and newborn warmth. Talia lay nestled against Amira's chest, her tiny fingers curled like promises. But for Amira, the silence screamed louder than any cry. Mama Ruth sat by her bedside. Still no call. Amira shook her head. Nothing. The nurse entered with discharge forms. You'll be going home tomorrow. Do you have someone picking you up? Amira hesitated. Then quietly, my mother. The next morning, as Mama Ruth wheeled her outside, Amira's phone buzzed. Derek. She stared at it. Mama Ruth peered over. Don't you dare cry if he says something stupid. Amira answered, heart pounding. Hey, Derek said, casual as ever. Heard you gave birth. 3 days ago. Silence. Well, I've been busy. Zena had, never mind. I just wanted to say congrats. That's it. Amira whispered. He exhaled. I can't do this anymore. I'm not built for fatherhood, Amira. You'll be better off without me. Her vision blurred, not from tears, but fury. Better off? You left me in a hospital bed to raise our child alone. Don't make this harder than it is, he muttered. I'll send something when I can. And he hung up. That night, Amira sat awake, breastfeeding Talia with Mama Ruth snoring softly on the couch. Her chest burned. She wasn't angry because he left. She was angry because deep down she still hoped he'd return. She looked down at Talia. We'll be okay, sweetheart. I promise. The following weeks were brutal. Sleepless nights. Diaper blowouts. A colicky baby who refused formula. Bills stacked like dominoes. Her landlord knocked twice with warnings. Her phone remained silent. No calls. No support. Not even a photo frame for Talia. One night, she collapsed in the bathroom, sobbing uncontrollably. The weight of betrayal, exhaustion, and rejection threatened to drown her. Mama Ruth found her there and sank to the floor beside her. Cry, baby, she whispered. Cry as long as you need. But don't stay broken. 3 weeks after Talia's birth, Amira sat alone at the clinic for her postnatal checkup. The nurse smiled. You're healing well. Any signs of postpartum depression? Amira gave a tight smile. What are the signs? The nurse blinked. Sadness, irritability, feeling disconnected from the baby. Amira stared at the ceiling. Every minute of the day. The nurse handed her a pamphlet. You're not alone. But she was. Back home, Amira tried to resume her old side hustle, handmade baby blankets and decor. But her energy was depleted. Most of her old customers had moved on. She posted a few ads online, updated her Instagram page, not for followers, just sales, but the responses were cold. That evening, as Talia wailed and Amira fought back tears, Mama Ruth handed her a glass of water. Listen, her mother said, Derek is gone. Maybe for good. But you're still here. That baby's still here. So you need to decide, will you stay stuck, or will you rise? Amira's hand trembled as she took the glass. I don't even know who I am anymore. Then find her, Mama Ruth said. Before the world tries to define her for you. The eviction notice came on a Monday morning. Bright red stamp. Urgent. Amira sat on the edge of her bed staring at it. Talia lay beside her, chewing her fingers. The baby cooed, blissfully unaware. I can't do this, Amira whispered to herself. I can't. You will, Mama Ruth said, entering with a tray of pap and okra soup. And you'll come out stronger. But how? I don't have a job. I don't have a husband. I don't even have time to take a bath without interruption. You have something better, fire? Amira laughed bitterly. I'm burned out. Mama Ruth smiled softly. Ashes can still spark new flames. Later that day, Amira pulled out her old sketchbook, the one she hadn't touched in over a year. She had once dreamed of designing children's clothes and nursery items. She flipped to a page with rough blanket patterns. Talia's tiny hand reached over, smearing it with drool. Amira smiled for the first time in days. She picked up a pen and drew. For the next week, she began waking up before sunrise, sneaking in 20 minutes of work while Talia slept. Then during naps. Then late at night. She stitched baby blankets from leftover fabric. When she finished 5, she took them to the roadside fair 3 blocks away. She couldn't afford a stall, so she laid them neatly on a bench and held Talia in her arms. Some looked. Some laughed. One woman sneered, she's probably selling rags to buy diapers. But one couple bought 2. Amira walked home with 6,000 Nigerian nairas in her purse. It was a beginning. The morning sun broke through the curtains. Amira tied a scarf around her hair, wore her black leggings and gently placed Talia into a sling across her chest. We're going for a walk, she whispered. Outside, the world felt less cruel in the early light. She passed vendors setting up stalls, women sweeping porches, children chasing one another with plastic bottles. And for the first time since her heartbreak, Amira felt a breath of peace. Each morning she walked. She didn't check her weight. She didn't care. Her goal wasn't revenge, it was revival. Mama Ruth noticed. "You've been humming while cooking," she said one afternoon. "That's a good sign." Amira chuckled. "Maybe I'm just tired of crying." "I see your light coming back," Mama Ruth said. Amira blinked back tears. "I don't feel like I'm glowing." "You will. Scars heal slow, but healing is loud. And baby, you're starting to shout." Later that week, Amira pulled out old journals. She found pages from her wedding plans. Love notes. Even Derek's first Father's Day letter, never opened. She placed them in a box, sealed it, and labeled it. Then she began a new notebook. "The life I choose from here." Her first entry read, "He left when I was weak, but my weakness made me strong." She stitched more blankets, adding color, texture, and a signature tag, by Amira and Talia. One customer recommended a community fair with more exposure. Another gave her a business card. Amira held on to each compliment like a brick in the foundation she was rebuilding. At night, she laid Talia down and whispered, "We're going to be okay." And she meant it. The morning was soft and still. Sunlight spilled gently into the living room as Amira sat cross-legged on the rug, Talia cooing in front of her, tugging at a strand of yarn. The blanket in progress was nearly done. Turquoise, gold, and cream, with soft edges stitched carefully by tired, loving hands. And then it happened. Talia smiled. "What? Toothless. Pure joy." Amira gasped. "Did you just smile at me?" Talia squealed again, waving her arms. Amira burst into laughter. Real laughter, deep and from the belly. She pulled Talia close, tears blurring her eyes. "I needed that," she whispered, hugging her baby. "I needed that more than you know." Later that day, she packed 5 finished blankets and strapped Talia into her sling. It was the first time she left home dressed in something other than a robe or houseware. Mama Ruth looked her up and down. "Anan, who is this fine girl?" Amira smirked. "It's just the market fair, Mama. But that glow? It's giving woman on a mission." Amira laughed. "Let's hope the customers agree." At the market, she set up near the gate. No official stall, just her folded table and bright blankets stacked in neat rows. A handwritten sign read, "Handmade love by Amira and Talia." Passers-by paused. Some asked for prices. One older woman bought 2 and said, "You should really get a proper stall." Amira beamed. One day soon. A little crowd started to form. Then a voice behind her. "How much for the patterned blue one?" She turned and froze. Tall, bearded, well-dressed. Idris Okoro. She remembered him from a year ago. He'd ordered customized baby decor for his niece through her Instagram. "Quiet. Kind eyes. Nigerian Naira 3500, she said quickly. He picked it up, examined the stitching. "You still do amazing work." Her cheeks flushed. "Thank you." He smiled and handed her 15,000 Nigerian Nairas. She stared. "It's not that much." "It is to me," he said simply. "I want his support." And with that he walked off. That evening, Amira sat on the balcony sipping pap, her earnings laid out before her, Nigerian Naira 33,500. It wasn't millions, but it was enough to cover food and baby supplies. Mama Ruth leaned against the doorframe. "Your eyes are different." Amira glanced at her. "How?" "Less fog. More fire." They both chuckled. The next day she received a text from an unknown number. "Idris here. Hope I didn't overstep yesterday. Just wanted to encourage you. Keep going." She stared at the message for a long moment, her thumb hovering. Then she typed, "You didn't? Thank you for seeing me." A week later her customer list had grown. She now had people requesting custom colors, initials sewn into the corner. Her Instagram, without any fancy marketing, began picking up orders. She began putting aside 2,000 Nigerian Nairas from every sale, Talia's fund. Every small win felt personal. Her hands ached, but her soul was healing. Then it happened. She got a text from Derek. "Can we talk?" She stared at it like it was a ghost. Her heart didn't jump. Her hands didn't tremble. She simply reread the words. Then muted the notification and slid her phone into her purse. Mama Ruth saw her expression. "Him?" Amira nodded. "He'll have to wait. I'm busy living." 3 days passed before she finally responded. "What do you want?" He called immediately. She didn't answer. He called again. Finally she picked up. Her tone was calm. Flat. Hello, Derek. Amira. I've been thinking about you. And the baby. How is she? She's called Talia. And she's thriving. Look, I messed up, okay? I know I left at the worst time. You abandoned us, Amira corrected. Say it right. He paused. Okay. I abandoned you. But I was going through things too. Zena and I, well, it didn't work. She said I was bitter and selfish. I'm shocked, Amira deadpanned. He laughed awkwardly. I just want to see my daughter. Amira's voice softened but remained steady. Talia doesn't know you. You left before she even opened her eyes. I'm trying to fix things. Fix your life, Derek. We're already healing. She ended the call. By the end of the month, Amira had enough savings for a small place of her own. It wasn't fancy, just a 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood, but it was hers. As she held the keys in her hand, Talia sleeping against her chest, she whispered, "This is just the beginning." Mama Ruth walked through the new space, smiling. This is dignity. They painted the walls cream. Hung little cloud decals in Talia's room. And above the living room mirror, Amira mounted a sign she crafted herself. Never again. Business grew. Idris quietly referred her to 2 new clients. One day he messaged, "Would you like to come to a fundraiser next weekend? Local artisans. Might be good exposure." Amira hesitated. She hadn't been to an event in over a year. The thought made her stomach flutter. But something in her said, "Go." She replied, "I'd love to. Thank you." The night of the fundraiser, Amira stood in front of her mirror, zipping up a fitted emerald dress that hugged her curves gently and flattered her glow. Talia giggled in her crib as Amira swiped on a final touch of lipstick. Mama Ruth stepped in and gasped. "Huh, you look like money?" Amira laughed. "I look like healing." The venue was a rooftop garden with warm lighting and live music. Idris stood by the entrance wearing a navy suit. He smiled as she approached. "Wow, you clean up nice." "You say that like I was ever dusty," she teased. He chuckled. "Touché." Midway through the event, Amira wandered toward the buffet. That's when she heard it. "Amira?" She turned slowly. There he was, Derek, in a suit, staring at her like a ghost from his past. You look amazing." Amira raised an eyebrow. "Hello, Derek." He stepped closer. "I wasn't expecting to see you here. I wasn't expecting to ever see you again." He smiled nervously. "Listen, I've been thinking a lot lately." She raised a hand. "You left when I looked like a mother. You don't get to talk to me now that I look like a model." His jaw tightened. She gave him a smile. Polite. Unbothered. Then turned and walked back to Idris. Derek stood frozen as Amira returned to her seat beside Idris. He watched her laugh. Light, easy, unrecognizable. She wasn't the woman he left sobbing in a hospital bed. He hesitated. Then, with false confidence, approached her again. "Can we talk? Just a few minutes?" Idris looked at Amira, waiting for her response. She nodded calmly. "Just a few minutes." They stepped aside to a quiet corner. Derek cleared his throat. "You've changed," he said. "I've grown," Amira corrected. "Change is temporary. Growth stays." "I mean it, you look incredible." She smiled slightly. "I didn't glow up for you." Derek sighed. "I was stupid, Amira. I got scared. The baby, your weight, the stress. I didn't know how to deal." "You weren't scared. You were selfish," she cut in. "You didn't want to love me through the hard parts. You wanted the highlights, not the responsibilities. I'm trying to make amends." "Why now?" He looked down. "Zena left. Said I had baggage I never dealt with. I guess. I started thinking about you. About us." Amira folded her arms. "You didn't just leave me, Derek. You left your daughter. A little girl who will one day ask why her father didn't come to the hospital. Why he never came home. I want to be in her life now." "Wanting isn't enough," she said softly. "You made a choice. And choices have consequences." As she walked back to her table, Idris met her with a concerned look. "You okay?" Amira nodded. "Better than I've ever been." And for the first time she meant it. A month later, Amira was in the living room folding fresh fabrics when she heard a squeal. She turned. Talia, now 13 months old, stood wobbling between the couch and table. Amira gasped. "Baby girl, are you?" Talia lifted one foot, then another. 2 steps. Then 3. Then a tumble into Amira's arms. You walked to me." She laughed, kissed her cheeks and hugged her tight. My little warrior. Later that evening, Idris stopped by with a small cake. You mentioned it's close to her first steps, so I thought, cake? Amira chuckled. Perfect timing. They sang a soft happy first steps song and shared laughter over tea. No romance. No pressure. Just peace. Talia crawled toward Idris, grabbed his finger and babbled something. She likes you, Amira said with a smile. Idris grinned. She's got excellent taste. As they talked, Idris mentioned, I have a sister who runs a textile brand. I told her about your designs. She's interested in meeting you. Amira raised a brow. Are you serious? I am. But no pressure. Only if you're ready. She looked around at her small living room, then at her daughter, then back at him. I think I am. Amira sat on the porch with Mama Ruth the next morning, braiding Talia's hair into tiny curls while the baby babbled with her toys. So, Idris might connect me to a real brand, she said excitedly. Mama Ruth nodded. You deserve that. He's been good to us. Supportive. Respectful. Mama Ruth smiled but didn't speak right away. Then gently, Amira, don't mistake kindness for a promise. Amira paused. What do you mean? You've been through a storm. And this piece feels like sunlight. But don't move so fast that you forget to check for shadows. I'm not jumping into anything. I know. I'm just saying healing is a journey. Don't give your heart away just because someone didn't break it. Amira nodded. I hear you. Mama Ruth kissed her forehead. And I'm proud of you. No matter what. That night, Amira stared at the ceiling in bed. She liked Idris. But she wasn't sure she could love again. Not yet. But maybe, someday. One afternoon there was a knock at the door. Amira opened it and found Derek standing there, holding a box of baby shoes and a bouquet of wilted roses. What are you doing here? She asked calmly. I came to apologize. Properly. She stepped aside. 5 minutes. He sat on the edge of the couch, eyes darting around the small but beautiful apartment. Talia stared at him curiously from her walker. She's beautiful, he said. She always has been. He nodded. I was a coward. I didn't know how to be a husband or a father. I panicked. You didn't panic, Derek. You planned your escape. He swallowed. I know. And every day I regret it. I think about what I missed. Her first cry. Her first laugh. Now her first steps. Amira held her daughter. Regret doesn't erase abandonment. I want to make things right. With her, maybe. But with me? That door is closed. Silence. Then Derek asked, Is there someone else? Amira met his eyes. There's someone who never made me beg for love. He nodded slowly. I understand. As he stood to leave, he whispered, You've become everything I never deserved. Derek drove home in silence. The city lights blurred around him, but nothing could distract him from the heaviness inside. He stepped into his apartment, cold, empty, lifeless. No toys on the floor. No laughter. No soft humming in the kitchen. He poured a drink, then another, and stared at the wall. Days later, a friend visited. You've lost your spark, man. What's going on? Derek didn't answer. Business had slowed. Deals fell through. Clients complained. Even his assistant quit, saying, You're not the man you used to be. At night, he scrolled through Amira's Instagram. Pictures of Talia. Of handmade products. Of Amira smiling behind stalls, glowing like sunrise. He typed a comment. Then deleted it. He closed the app and dropped his phone. Meanwhile, Amira's orders exploded. Idris introduced her to his sister, Adeola, CEO of Threaded Souls, a rising fashion and textile brand. Amira's designs impressed her instantly. We want you to lead a capsule baby line, Adeola said. You'll have full creative control. Amira blinked. I don't even have a business license. We'll help with that too. Her hand shook. Is this real? Idris smiled. Told you I believed in you. That night, Amira sat with Mama Ruth in the kitchen. I used to think I couldn't survive without Derek, she said softly. Now, I barely remember what loving him felt like. Mama Ruth held her hand. That's healing, baby. It erases the ache and leaves only wisdom. They clinked cups of tea. No champagne. No loud celebration. Just quiet triumph. Amira paced the length of her new apartment, fingers clutching the signed proposal from Adeola Okoro. Her daughter slept peacefully in the next room, unaware that her mother's life had just changed. She couldn't believe it. A real contract. A genuine partnership. Her line of baby blankets and nursery items would be produced, distributed, and promoted under Threaded Souls. And she wasn't just getting paid, she was being offered equity. She called Mama Ruth. "Mama, I got the deal." Mama Ruth screamed into the phone. "You're lying." "I'm serious. It's official. Adeola said they want me to be the face of their Mother's Hands collection." She called me a visionary. From tears to trademark. Mama Ruth laughed. God is not asleep. The next morning, Idris picked her up for a tour of the factory floor. Amira wore a simple white blouse and denim jeans, but the pride in her walk made her look like royalty. "Your designs are already being sampled," Adeola said, guiding her through rows of machines and fabrics. "Your story, your resilience, it aligns perfectly with our brand values." As they stopped near a display board of mock-up branding ideas, Amira's name was written in bold cursive. Talia Bundles, designed by Amira James. She covered her mouth. "That's my daughter's name." Idris nodded. It felt right. "She was your why." Amira turned to him, deeply moved. "You didn't have to do all this." He smiled. "I didn't do it all. You just needed someone to hold the door open while you walked through." Later that day, as she walked home, she passed her old street, the run-down apartment, the sidewalk where she once sat with a stack of blankets and trembling hands. It looked smaller now, faded. She kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, "We're not going back. Ever." Derek drove aimlessly through town, hoping the motion would clear his mind. His business had all but collapsed. Calls ignored. Loans unpaid. Even Zena had blocked him for good. He pulled over to grab a snack at a popular fuel station. And then he saw it. A towering digital billboard across the road. A smiling Amira, holding Talia in her arms. Behind them, soft hues of baby blue and gold, and across the screen, Talia Bundles, designed by Amira James. Love sewn in every stitch. He dropped his water bottle. It felt like being punched in the chest. The same woman he left, crying, swollen, broken, now stared down at him like a queen. His mouth went dry. People walked past pointing at the billboard, some mentioning how inspiring the designer's story was. She started from scratch, apparently. Her baby daddy left her, but now look. Derek got back in his car, turned off the radio, and sat in stunned silence. He returned home and opened social media. Her face was everywhere. News articles, features on women-owned businesses, interviews. From heartbreak to healing, how Amira James built her empire with a baby on her hip and a needle in hand. Comments flooded in. "She's proof you don't need a man to rise." "Talia Bundles is my go-to for baby gifts now." "Amira's story makes me believe in second chances." Derek scrolled until he reached a family photo. Amira, Talia, and Idris standing beside her, his hand resting protectively behind her waist. Derek threw his phone across the room. The cafe smelled of cinnamon and roasted espresso beans. Amira sat by the window, sipping hibiscus tea, her laptop open to emails from suppliers and reporters. Business was thriving. Then Idris walked in. She smiled and waved him over. Right on time. He sat across from her. "I brought something." He slid a small gift box across the table. Inside was a pendant, simple, gold-plated, with the word "Survivor" engraved on it. Her lips parted. "It's beautiful." "I thought about giving you flowers," he said, leaning back. "But you're not the flower type." She grinned. "No. You're the soil. The roots. The storm. The sun. You're everything that makes flowers grow." She blushed deeply, looking down. "Idris? I've been patient because I know you've had enough of men rushing in and ruining things. But Amira," he paused, "I'd like to be the man who stays." Silence fell between them, soft, safe. She reached for his hand. "I'm not ready to say yes, but I can say maybe. And for the first time, that doesn't feel like a maybe out of fear. It feels like a beginning." He nodded. "Then I'll keep walking beside you. One step at a time." Later that evening, Amira stood on her balcony watching Talia sleep through the baby monitor. The breeze brushed her face as she looked up at the stars. She thought about the nights she cried alone. The hospital room. The eviction notice. The rejection. The heartbreak. Now, she had peace, purpose, partnership, power. And she had protected her child's world without crumbling. Amira clutched the survivor pendant and smiled. She hadn't just survived. She had risen. The email came on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Subject: Talia's invitation. From Derek.James@live.com. "Hi Amira. I know I've made a mess of things. My birthday is next week and I'd really like Talia to come. It won't be a party, just close friends. I bought her a gift. I know I can't fix the past, but maybe this is a small step forward. Please consider it. Derek. Amira stared at the screen for a full 5 minutes before speaking. Mama, she called out. Come see this. Mama Ruth walked over, wiping her hands on a towel. She read the message silently. He wants to use that child like a peace offering, Mama Ruth murmured. The same child he left before her first breath. Amira sighed. Should I reply? Mama Ruth sat beside her. That's up to you. But remember, you're not the wounded girl anymore. You're her mother. Protect her peace, not his guilt. Amira took a deep breath and typed her response. Hi Derek. I received your invitation. Talia is doing well and I appreciate you thinking of her. However, she's only just learning what safety and stability feel like. She doesn't know who you are yet, not really. I won't bring her into confusion just to make you feel better. That's not her burden. She will know the truth when she's ready. But for now, she only needs one consistent, loving parent. And she already has that. Take care. Amira. She hit send without flinching. That evening, Idris came by with a box of dyed fabric samples for her next product launch. They worked side by side on the living room floor, measuring, laughing, arguing over which shade of peach felt modern enough. Then, as Talia played quietly on the rug, Idris asked gently, You okay? Amira nodded. Derek invited her to his birthday. He raised a brow. What did you say? I said no. Good. She tilted her head. You didn't even ask for details. I don't need them, Idris said. You're her mother. Your no is enough. His confidence in her, so steady, so unquestioning, moved her more than any apology ever had. That night, after Idris left, Amira tucked Talia into her crib and stood watching her for a long time. Her daughter looked peaceful, grounded. And that was the life Amira had fought tooth and nail to build, a home where love wasn't begged for. A place where safety wasn't conditional. She thought of the hospital bed, her swollen belly, the cold space where Derek should have stood. And she whispered, You don't get to re-enter our lives like it's a revolving door. The next day Derek replied, I get it. Maybe I'm too late. I just wanted to see her smile. Take care of her. No anger. No argument. Just quiet resignation. For once, he wasn't chasing sympathy. He was facing reality. The week of Derek's birthday passed without fanfare. Amira noticed he deactivated his social media pages. A friend mentioned he was staying low and rethinking everything. She didn't rejoice in his fall. She didn't wish him pain. But she didn't wish him back. And that was growth. Meanwhile, Amira finalized designs for the Talia Essentials collection. Baby wraps, nursing shawls and soft loungers. All stitched in calming tones, each piece named after something from her journey. The mirror lie, a pale blue blanket with stitched vines symbolizing resilience. Never again, a deep emerald carrier with gold accents, a nod to her strength. Mama's voice, a warm-toned lullaby rap, stitched with soft music notes. When she unveiled the line to Adeola and the team, they were speechless. You didn't just design fabric, Adeola said. You told your story. Amira smiled. I guess I finally figured out how to turn pain into purpose. She returned home that day to find a letter on her doorstep. Handwritten. No stamp. It was from Derek. Amira, I walked out when you needed me most. And now I realize, you didn't just move on. You rose. I don't know how to fix what I broke. But thank you for raising our daughter to be strong. Even if I'm not in the picture. I'm glad she has you. Derek. She folded the letter carefully and placed it in a box labeled, For Talia, one day. Not for guilt. Not for manipulation. But for truth. Because Talia deserved to know the full story, when she was old enough to understand that sometimes, people leave not because of who we are, but because of who they're not ready to become. Later that night, Amira and Idris stood on the rooftop of their shared co-working space, watching the city lights shimmer. I read his letter, she said. Closure. She nodded. Not for him, for me. I didn't need him to crumble. I just needed to feel whole without his validation. Idris looked at her. You've always been whole. You just had to see it. She looked up at the stars and whispered, I think I finally do. The air was warm and golden as Amira stepped out of the black SUV in front of Luna's, a high-end restaurant nestled in the heart of Lagos Island. The valet opened her door with a smile, and she stepped onto the red carpet in heels that clicked like punctuation marks to her success. She wore a pearl-white silk pantsuit, tailored to hug her curves. Around her neck was a delicate gold chain, Survivor, her favorite pendant from Idris. Her hair was pulled back in a high braided bun, revealing her glowing, makeup-free face. As she walked toward the entrance, the hostess' eyes widened. "Miss James?" Amira smiled. "Reservation for 6. Under Talia Bundles." The hostess beamed. "Of course. Right this way." Inside, her team was already waiting. Adeola, 2 marketing leads, a textile consultant, and Idris, seated at the head of the table. Talia was at home with Mama Ruth for the night. Amira slid into her chair, heart full. "Let's eat." The waiter poured sparkling apple juice as Adeola raised her glass. To vision, to courage, and to mothers who turn pain into profit. To Amira, they chorused. She smiled modestly but proudly. "I was just trying to survive. Now we're thriving." They toasted. They laughed. They shared stories of their beginnings. Each of them had faced something: rejection, betrayal, loss. But here they were, living proof that resilience pays off. Idris leaned toward her. "You still feel like that scared woman from the hospital?" Amira looked around at her laughing team, at the menu with her company's name printed at the bottom, at the life she built. "No," she said. "She saved me. But I'm not her anymore." Then something shifted. A shadow approached their table. Derek. Dressed in a basic suit, he stood awkwardly, holding a wrapped gift in one hand. Amira blinked. The whole table fell silent. "I don't mean to interrupt," he began, voice lower than usual. "I just saw the name outside. I didn't realize you'd booked this place tonight." She remained composed. "What are you doing here?" "Business dinner," he said, then quickly added, "Well, former business. Cancelled now." He looked at the group, then down at the gift in his hands. "This was meant for Talia. Just a picture book I found, about mothers and daughters." She took it gently but said nothing. "I won't stay," Derek added. "Just keep doing what you're doing." He turned to leave. "Derek." He stopped. "I forgave you a long time ago," she said, voice calm. "Not for you but for me." He nodded, still facing away. "But you don't get a front row seat in a life you walked out on." This time he did not argue. He walked out of the restaurant without another word. The table was silent for a beat. Then Adeola said, "Well, that was cinematic." Everyone laughed. Amira tucked the gift beside her chair. She had no intention of reading it to Talia now, but perhaps one day when her daughter asked, "Who's my father?" she could answer without bitterness. Just honesty. After dinner, she stepped outside for fresh air. The Lagos skyline sparkled above her. She inhaled deeply, the scent of night and rain in the air. Idris joined her a moment later. "He still loves who you were," he said quietly. "Not who you became. And that's why he can't be here," she replied. They stood in silence for a while, then Amira turned to him. "You were patient." "I had to be. You needed space to rise without leaning. You never made me feel like I owed you anything." Idris smiled. "That's what love is supposed to feel like." She looked at him, the city reflected in her eyes. "Then maybe, it's time I stop healing alone." Back home, she tiptoed into Talia's room. The toddler was fast asleep, hugging her handmade stuffed bear, one of Amira's earliest creations. Her curls were wild and free, her mouth slightly open. Amira sat beside the crib, tears brimming in her eyes. "You're the reason I didn't give up," she whispered. "You're why I became everything I needed to be." She gently touched the book Derek had given her, then slid it onto a shelf beside the others. It would stay there for now. Not as a reminder of pain, but as a marker of how far they'd come. In her room, Amira stood before the mirror again, the same kind she once avoided during her pregnancy. Now, her reflection was radiant. Strong arms, clear eyes, full cheeks, purpose behind her expression. She didn't see flaws. She saw fight. She didn't see stretch marks. She saw survival lines. She didn't see a woman who'd been left. She saw a woman who stayed, for herself, for her daughter, and for her future. A soft knock came at her door. "Mama?" Talia's sleepy voice. Amira opened it and scooped her up. "I had a dream," Talia mumbled, eyes fluttering shut again. "What did you dream about?" "You were flying. And I was flying too." Amira smiled, holding her close. "That's not a dream, baby girl. That's our life now." She carried her back to bed and watched as her breathing slowed. As the night deepened, Amira sat down at her desk and opened her journal. "The life I choose from here," she wrote. 2 years ago I thought I was broken. Now I know I was just bending toward my bloom. I'm not bitter. I'm not waiting. I am a mother. A creator. A flame that refused to go out. He left when I needed him most. But that was the best gift he ever gave me. Because it made me become the woman I was always meant to be. She closed the journal, turned off the light, and finally, peacefully, slept. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.